The glass door to Vanessa Reed's corner office clicked shut behind me with a soft finality that felt heavier than it should. She didn't look up right away. Instead, her manicured fingers kept swiping across her tablet, the glow reflecting off the minimalist white desk. The scent of her bergamot diffuser hung in the air like an attempt to mask something sharper. I stood there, arms at my sides, waiting. 7 years at Pinnacle Trade Corp had taught me patience, especially when dealing with people who thought they could rewrite history overnight. "Have a seat, Ethan," she finally said, her voice bright and clipped, the kind of corporate cheer that never reached her eyes. I lowered myself into the ergonomic chair across from her, the leather cool against my back. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the Chicago skyline stretched under a gray afternoon sky. Trader screens flickering in distant buildings like distant stars. Pinnacle wasn't just any fintech firm. We handled billions in high-frequency trades daily. Milliseconds mattered. Lives, careers, and regulatory compliance depended on stability I had spent years forging. Vanessa finally set the tablet down and leaned forward, her sharp bob haircut framing a face that radiated confidence from too many TED Talks. "You've seen the roadmap, right? We're accelerating the full re-architecture. Q3 deadline for migrating off legacy components. Your Ether core modules need to be ported or documented for handoff. No exceptions." I met her gaze evenly. The Ether core wasn't some dusty relic. It was the spine of our trading pipeline, real-time authentication, multi-region synchronization, regulatory compliant logging that satisfied SEC and FINRA auditors down to the nanosecond. Built from scratch during my early days here. When Pinnacle begged me to bring my proprietary framework in under a licensing deal with Brooks Infrastructure LLC, my side consultancy, most had forgotten the details. They treated me like staff. I never corrected them. Ownership wasn't about org charts. "Vanessa," I said slowly, letting the words settle. "Ether core carries live vendor hooks. Licensed components with specific compliance callouts. Removing or refactoring without mapping every endpoint risks, not just downtime, but violations. Clause 7.3 in the agreement is clear. Unauthorized modifications nullify operational rights." She smiled, the kind that dismissed me as overly cautious. "We'll sandbox first. Backups exist, don't they? This is modernization, Ethan. Microservices, serverless scaling, edge computing. The board wants agility. Your architecture served us well, but it's time to build for tomorrow's scale." Scale. The word echoed hollowly. I thought of 4 a.m. alerts during volatility spikes, when Tokyo and London sessions overlapped and trades flooded in at rates that could bankrupt us in minutes without my persistent locking mechanisms. I had written those from scratch, tested them through 3 market crashes. She hadn't. I leaned forward slightly, elbows on knees. "Just loop legal in before touching anything tied to Ether. Document the licensing transfer properly." Her eyes narrowed for a split second, the name registering faintly, but not enough to pause her. She waved it off. "It's code, not sacred property. We'll keep you involved in the transition. HR will handle role discussions next week." I nodded once. Stood. On my way out, I glanced at her whiteboard, a half-drawn flowchart labeled New Data Sync and Offload Bus. No mention of Ether. No placeholder. They had no idea what they were about to dismantle. Back at my desk, earbuds in, I cloned the production environment into a sealed archive on my private repo. Checked the license logs. Brooks Infrastructure LLC. Active since 2018. Clause 7.3d. Unauthorized deletion or redeployment without written transition nullifies rights. I hadn't raised my voice. Hadn't fought. But I started preparing. Quietly. The next weeks unfolded with mounting tension. Like a slow-building storm, Vanessa brought in a team of eager young engineers fresh from startups. MacBooks plastered with stickers, diving into my Git branches with enthusiasm that bordered on recklessness. Every few hours, my alerts pinged, diffs highlighting, refactored for clarity, removed legacy wrapper, simplified conditional. Queue changes until one wiped an authentication chain critical for multi-region spikes. I fixed it silently overnight. No credit sought. Just an emoji reply in Slack the next morning. She called me in again after that incident. Same glass office. Same diffuser. You're not being collaborative, Ethan. We need adaptive thinkers who pivot fast. I asked if she'd ever pivoted while 10,000 automated trades hammered the pipeline at peak volatility. She laughed lightly. It's not that fragile. But it was. And explaining persistent locking mechanisms to someone who'd never written one felt pointless. That night, I pulled out the old folder, my consultancy agreement, the one Pinnacle had signed when they needed Ether desperately. Forgotten by most. Vanessa stood in the Monday all-hands. We're sunsetting legacy modules. All leads contribute to migration. No exceptions. I didn't blink. Started transferring vendor credentials to cold storage. Not fear. Knowledge of inevitability. The team swarmed like locusts. 20 engineers poking, rewriting battle-tested protocols as if GitHub popularity trumped uptime. One converted the rate limiter to a node microservice. The dev pipeline choked for hours. I patched again. Silent. Each fix carried a quiet weight, pride in what I'd built mixed with growing dread. This wasn't just code. It was institutional memory, the kind that kept billions moving safely. Dismissing it felt like arrogance dressed as progress. By midweek, my warnings had been noted but ignored. In her office, once more, I pressed again on legal review. She scoffed. The tension coiled tighter. Emotions simmering beneath professional calm, frustration at being undervalued. A deep sadness for the system about to fracture. Friday afternoon arrived like any other, but the air felt charged. I was finishing a review comment on a patch that could have prevented months of reconciliation bugs when my screen froze. Browser timed out. IDE blinked and shut down. Slack refreshed to session expired. Contact administrator. My phone rang almost immediately. DevOps lead. Voice low and apologetic. Ethan. Vanessa sent the order. Full revocation. Sorry. Man. I had no choice. I stared at the blank monitor. No surprise. Really? Predictable. Thanks for the heads up. Moments later, the all-hands Slack pinged from Vanessa. Chipper tone intact. Exciting update. We've sunset legacy modules and launched the new build. Pinnacle is now fully future-facing. Team. Incredible work. Sunset. As if erasing years of infrastructure was a calendar cleanup. I smiled faintly. A mix of resignation and resolve. Unlocked my drawer. Pulled the sealed envelope prepared weeks ago, the contact card from Nexus Edge Technologies VP. We'd met at a conference. She remembered my panel on real-time architecture. If Pinnacle forgets your worth, call me. I dialed. One ring. Nexus Edge. Lana here. This is Ethan Brooks. I'll take the offer. We start Monday. 30 minutes later. My phone buzzed, block number. Pinnacle's CEO. Marcus Hale. Ethan? Where's our lead architect? I leaned back, staring at acoustic tiles unchanged since my first day spinning up the original queue. Background noise filtered through. Swearing. Frantic questions. What does this error mean? Did we lose Singapore? I hung up. Silence stretched. Heavy with implication. Legacy systems aren't deleted casually. They demand reverence, transition plans, signed releases, respect for the builder. Vanessa hadn't asked who truly owned Ether Core. By Monday morning, the storm hit. Dashboards blank. Trade routes failing resolution. Authentication loops stalling across regions. Japan timed out. Germany entered hell. Compliance logs showed blanks or references to non-existent modules. Ether wasn't peripheral. It was the spine. Now yanked from a living system. They tried soft patches. Rolled back to Friday's commit. But Vanessa's team had overwritten everything. Latest was a Frankenstein of broken references. Incomplete wrappers. Docs linking to voids. System wouldn't compile. Slack became a war zone. Messages unanswered for hours. Null type in async bridge. Support tickets piled up. Client handshakes failing. Cron jobs misfiring. False security alerts. Worst from compliance. Halt request from audit partner. Lack of trade log traceability. Fines loomed. Potential decertification. But the death blow came from legal. Ticket titled IP status, Brooks departure. Attached PDF and signed exit paperwork. HR skipped the meeting. Ether headers still referenced active dual license under Brooks Infrastructure LLC. Clause 7.3d plain as day. Modification or deletion without transition nullifies rights. Marcus reportedly stood in emergency meeting. He wasn't an employee? Silence. Vanessa tried explaining. She assumed absorption. No one told her it was vendor licensed. But someone had.
Me.
In her office. Loop legal before touching Ether. She wasn't scoffing now. They hadn't fired a developer. They deleted a licensed vendor asset mid-flight. No handoff. No release. License evaporated. Engineers suggested rebuilds, 6 months minimum. Tried rolling failed microservices. Buckled harder. Singapore partner paused integrations. Another threatened SLA breach action. US East node crashed every 4 minutes. Load balancer failed recovery. Auditors arrived swiftly. Word spread of deletion without protocol. Investigators flagged gross negligence in logs. Compliance queue backed up catastrophically. Fiscal week marked incomplete, unprecedented in 7 years. Every attempted fix circled back. They'd erased what they didn't own. Built by people they undervalued. Architecture they dismissed. Vanessa called another all-hands. Train wreck. Reconstruct modularly. Layer trade routes. Using what specs? Silence from juniors. Those were in Ether comments. COO raised hand. Did we confirm ownership before deletion? No answer. Legal. Assumed internal IP. No HR update on vendor file. Whispers. HR never filed exit. Rooms sank. Departments realized dependence on uncontrolled scaffold. Moved fast. Broke everything. Clause 7.3d surfaced like a landmine, simple, surgical. Unauthorized changes without transition void licensing. 10 business days to negotiate reinstatement or full termination across all environments. By day 2, compliance firm froze renewals. Fiscal pipeline faced decertification. Day 3, 2 major partners issued breach notices. Emergency termination. Day 4, investor demanded audit. Questioning who greenlit purge. Vanessa's name surfaced. Meanwhile, I started at Nexus Edge. No fanfare. By 9:50, flagged inefficiencies in energy allocation schema. Noon, restructured bridges. Cut latency 38%. Team pinged. Wow. Fast. Thumbs up. Kept working. Emotions churned quietly, vindication tempered by regret for colleagues caught in fallout. Sadness at wasted potential. The scramble intensified. Pinnacles spun backups. Resurrected deprecated containers. Ported stale dev segments. Nothing integrated cleanly. Permission errors. Crashes on external routing. Partial fork from last year's test compiled but lacked client mappings. Knowledge only I held. They reached out to former colleagues I trained. One under NDA. Need Brooks permission. Another declined outright over licensed doubts. Panic spread. Integrations halted. SLA penalties triggered, hundreds of thousands per hour per region. Germany suspended contracts. Singapore paused trades. Auditors crawled version logs. The moment clause 7.3D hit board awareness. Tone shifted from panic to dread. Buried in 2018 archives. The language was unambiguous, no tech jargon. Just teeth in the contract from younger me who learned vendors need enforcement. Breach confirmed. No quick fix. I received a text from Vanessa. Can we talk? No apology. Just desperation implied. I didn't reply. Contract clause interpreted non-response as refusal. Subject to damages. I had logs. Transcripts. Everything documented. Nexus onboarding was precise. NDA. Credentials. Memo welcoming me as senior architect with domain authority. Meanwhile, Pinnacle's boardroom filled with tension. Slides quantified instability from ether removal. Breach of clause. Reinstatement cost projections hitting millions plus penalties. CEO confronted Vanessa. You deleted it. She defended as replatforming, but legal cut-in, time-stamped warning for me. Enforceable license. Override bypassed protocols. Chairman. Why no legal review? Because she greenlit direct production commits. Room stilled. My name appeared quietly in Zoom as observer, legal insistence for acknowledgement. No camera. No mic. Just presence. CEO cleared throat. Reinstating access. Funds processing. COO. Planned if he refuses extension? Silence. No plan existed. They'd erased the blueprint holder. Bell, no. Vanessa's resignation pinged Friday evening, effective immediately. Monday memo from CEO. Reminder that institutional knowledge is operational. Honor systems holding us together. Words I once wrote in a manual. Now gospel.